Alrighty, and good morning from California. Good afternoon to the rest of America, and good evening to the rest of the world. Very nice to be with you again today. I think this is class 14. Forgive me. It's June of 2022. We're moving into the summer months. Out here in the desert, it's getting sort of warm, consistently over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. I think I saw an estimated high for later in the week of 113, which is getting a little toasty. But that's what it's like in the desert out here in the summer. The rest of the year, it's just idyllic, and that's why we're here. And love it out here. It's so quiet. And thank goodness for air conditioning and double pane windows. That's what I'll say about that. Last week we left off with meaning and purpose, and I just want to repeat that I think and we'll go into this more in the future, that I think the meaning or the purpose of life is universal and the meaning of life is personal. The purpose of life is to grow, it's to evolve, it's to unfold, it's for existence to know itself, or reality to understand itself. The meaning is what you bring to it personally. It's how you go about growing. And ideally, we want to do it by following our hearts more than our heads. There are times to lead with your head and allow the heart to basically drive that thought into action or that set of behaviors. And when it's very personal, I think it's a good idea to lead with your heart and use your mind to temper your understanding, your beliefs, your attitudes and expectations. I read a story a long time ago about a horse jockey that could ride a farm horse over through a steeplechase, over vaults and fences. And I said, how do you do that? How do you take a mare that's been pulling a plow and get it to jump over fences and stuff? The most incredible jockey, equestrian ever. And he said, it's simple. I just throw my heart over the fence and the horse follows. I bet it's been 40 years since I read that, but it's always stuck with me. Isn't that nice? That's the leap of faith, so-called. It's more heart-based than head-based. There are leaps of logic, which are different, but a leap of faith is to throw your heart out in front and follow it. So head over heart, well, it depends. Again, if it's personal, lead with the heart. And if it's more of the world, then you might want to lead with your head, but always use both. So purpose is universal, to grow and evolve, to unfold. And that goes for all things. Look around. What is not only changing, but improving through natural selection, evolving. The universe itself is expanding. And the rate at which it's expanding is expanding. How about that? Everything moving away from everything else. It's quite a remarkable concept, especially when you consider the size of the universe. Try to get your head around the enormity of it all. Purpose is universal. Meaning is individual. How I go about knowing myself, growing myself, and serving other people. How do I do that? Do it in areas that you love. That's what you'll be best at, are the things that you love. You'll find that you love the things you do well. Maybe that's, you do well because you love it. That's a wonderful cycle, upward spiral. but it's about loving what you do and not settling. If you hate your job, remember, you accepted it. You settled for it. Get busy, dream some dreams. And we'll talk more about goal setting and problem solving in the future. Today, after the opening meditation, I'd like to go deeper into the idea of emotional intelligence and focus particularly on fear, and fear in its many forms, from panic, horror, terror, in the presence of real danger on one end, all the way down to non-specific anxiety, general anxiety, and what we could call nervousness, or even mild apprehension, or a word that guys, men in particular, like is concerned. They're never afraid, but they have their concerns. We'll talk about that spectrum of fear and whether we should call it fear. And is there a difference between fear and anxiety? And most importantly, begin to look today at the impact that it has on awareness, because fear makes us stupid. It just shatters awareness. How do we get that back? So let's do a brief opening focus here today. If you get comfortable in your chairs, assume the position, close your eyes, bring your awareness into your body. Place your awareness in the center of your being. Find that place behind the navel. That is your center of gravity and your center of being. Welcome in awareness. As you relax, as we relax, we all become more aware, more alert, more responsive, more sentient, more cogent, more present. But give yourself the first couple of minutes just to settle down. Think of dust in the air slowly settling. Or muddy water that's allowed to sit, slowly becoming clear as the sediment ever so slowly floats to the bottom. Feel yourself becoming clear effortlessly, just by letting go. And give yourself a couple of minutes, at least, just to begin to slow down, that you might be more awake, more aware. Like the coming of the dawn, or someone slowly fading up the lights in a room, brighter and brighter. Again, not through any effort. But simply by letting go. Let your world be okay for a few minutes. Imagine that it's just fine. Your world and everything in it. Our world and everything in it and around it. What if everything was okay? Just for a few minutes. There was nothing you had to do, and nowhere you had to be. Nothing else you'd rather be doing. Than just sitting here, letting go. Like butter on a warm day, you don't change in appearance, yet you slowly soften, yielding to the peace and the harmony, the love and the happiness that dwells within you. No one ever let go of peace and joy and found pain and suffering. Letting go never makes things worse. With practice, you'll be able to assure yourself that letting go of tension and pressure and worry and doubt allows you to realize that what remains in truth is the sense that everything's okay. It really is just fine. And we make too much of what we call problems. And we over-concern ourselves with what we call heartache. For like all things, these are objects of the mind. Even our identity, our sense of self, is an object of our imagination. It's what we have presumed life to be. As we take ownership and responsibility for the reality in which we find ourselves immersed, we can let go. We can see our lives as a projection of consciousness and awareness, and experience that freedom to change the way you look at things, to raise your gaze, to be more positive and enthusiastic, more goal-oriented, less concerned with struggling against anything, learning to resist nothing. And let life have its way with you. Determined to approach life in a graceful and elegant fashion. To move through life elegantly and gracefully. to accept its impermanence, its constant change and flux, and flow with it. To accept reality and acknowledge it just as it is a place to begin, to live a life following your heart in service to others. And bring these warm, wonderful feelings of peace into the world. Telling yourself that you need not change the world to enjoy peace, but to turn it around and bring your peace to the world, that it may change the way you act and react with other people, change the way you drive, change the way you encounter people in grocery stores, in restaurants, and public places. To have compassion and sympathy for their suffering, especially those who seem hostile and belligerent, for they are suffering most of all. Those who try to scare us and use fear to get their way are the most frightened of all. They suffer greatly. Have some compassion for them. Have some compassion for yourselves. As you accept the truth of things exactly as they are, from a peaceful and joyous place. Happy for no reason. Happy for no reason. Happy for no reason whatsoever. Bring these feelings with you back into the room. Just reorient yourself. Take a few moments. Sometimes I count to 5 or I count to 3. So that we all come out of meditation pretty much at the same time. I'll just count slowly to 3. And on the number 1, beware of your intention to open your eyes wide awake and alert in just a moment. 2, remember the room in which you sit, the chair supporting you, the floor beneath your feet. And 3 is eyes open, wide awake. Eyes open, wide awake, back in the room, feeling fine. Big breath. I like to stretch, shake it off a little bit, just to get back in your body. Where were we if we were not in our bodies? We were in our minds and in our hearts and in the soul. That's where we live. This class is called The Wisdom of the Soul. Every once in a while I should probably mention that the whole idea is the spiritual betrothal. That's what this class is really about. What does that mean? A spiritual wedding? An alchemical wedding? It means to know and cultivate a relationship with your own oversoul and to marry that soul before you die. Again, we're not human beings with souls. We are spiritual souls. That's an energy being. Spirit is just energy. The word means breath. There's all kinds of energy and different frequencies, from audible sound. Brain waves are even slower than audible sound. Up through the above audible sound, we go into the electromagnetic spectrum of radio, television, and you go higher, and radar and sonar, and you keep going, you get to visible light. Very short, very fast frequencies, short wavelengths. From red all the way up through blue and violet, the highest frequencies. And above that, gamma rays and X-rays and cosmic rays. And the highest frequencies, fastest vibrations. But imagine a piano extending to infinity in both ends, There's no end to the low notes, and the high notes keep going and going. This whole universe is vibrating. That's what spirit is about. It's about discovering yourself as an energy being. And the soul is a matrix, an organized field of energy, sort of like a wave on the ocean. The wave has an identity or a perspective, if you will. This wave is not that wave, but clearly it is a manifestation of an ocean. And so the soul is a manifestation of the ultimate divinity, the absolute, whatever that is, that loving force that creates and sustains, binds the universe together, that we see visibly expressing itself in life. The longing to love and curiosity to know things, this urgency to live more fully, and even our desire nature, which gets us hung up, all part of an expression to grow. And so just as the soul is an emanation of the ultimate source of things, the soul emanates or incarnates each of us. So we're a projection of the soul, and then we project reality out from there, don't you see? We think we're dealing with a life that's being done to us. Actually, it's a reflection of what's going on within us. Change the inner, you will see the change in the outer, I promise. Change yourself. When you change the way you drive on the freeway, other people will drive differently. You figure it out. You try it out. I'm not going to tell you how it works. I can't comprehend it. I can't grok it. It's too much. But it's obvious. Change the way you treat people, they will treat you differently. Even if they initiate the conversation, you'll engender a whole different vibe. You will appear differently to people. They'll have their radar on. They'll just know, well, this is a pleasant, non-threatening individual. See, it's all in our hands. It's all available to us. And as we come to know ourselves as souls incarnate, we can communicate and listen to the wisdom of the soul. That's where we're headed. It comes not through logic, but through intuition. So we have to develop intuition. To develop intuition, we have to have a peaceful mind. And to have a peaceful mind, we need to have emotional intelligence. We can't be angry and hostile and feel put upon and victimized and helpless and wringing our hands and seeking sympathy. We really want love. Doesn't occur to us to give away freely what we wish to receive, but that's the deal. Most of us want to receive love that we're able to feel fulfilled, and then we'll give it. Let's get that turned around. But fear gets in the way, and that's what I want to talk about a little bit today. What is fear? You know, I've written a book about fear, and if you haven't read it, you can purchase it on Amazon or any online bookstore anywhere in the world, either in paperback or the very affordable Kindle. It's $7 in Kindle, $6.99, $7 on Kindle, or whatever e-reader you may be using. I'm not familiar, but I think Sony has one, Barnes and Noble has their own. They use an EPUB format. Kindle uses a Mobi format. You don't need to understand that. It's just such a great way to read. I know I like holding books too, but you can still own books. And the paperback is available. I've yet to do a hardbound. I may, somewhere down the road, do a special hardbound version of it. Find out more at fearlessintelligence.com. That's the title of the book, and the website, fearlessintelligence.com. The Extraordinary Awareness of Wisdom. I'm sorry, I said that backwards. My own subtitle. The Extraordinary Wisdom of Awareness. I guess it works both ways. Wisdom and awareness, truth and love are the same thing. It's consciousness. Capital T truth, capital L love, is awareness. It's being awake and sentient and alert, being at choice, being free. It's what everybody's looking for, and yet it's something each of us already has. It's the learning to operate that is the challenge. In Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths end with the Eightfold Noble Path. The fourth noble truth is the Eightfold Path. And that Eightfold Path is divided into three sections: the pursuit of virtue, the study of the mind, and the search for wisdom. And I'll loop around and we'll talk more about that in the future. But that's worthy of some consideration. To devote yourself. What if you devoted yourself as a kind of a hobby or spare time activity to awaken to everything else in the world, to the pursuit of virtue, the study of the mind and how it works, and the pursuit of wisdom? If only to stop making the same mistakes and setting ourselves up for the same traps, and then blaming others for our suffering. You've noticed that doesn't work. I presume that's why you're here. This is the great news. That to be in the image of the Creator is to be a creator. So create. You know, the earth will grow. Whatever falls into it, you could cultivate the soil and plant what you would like to grow, and prune it and pull the weeds and tend the garden and care for it. Or you can just let it go fallow, in which case it'll grow whatever falls into it, whatever the wind blows, whatever the birds drop, briars and brambles and poison ivy and an occasional beautiful tree or a flower. But it's just all random. That's why our lives look the way they do, because we're not cultivating the garden here. It's just whatever the wind blows in, we grow. The whole idea of meditation and relaxation and study, becoming more mindful, is to expand awareness. So in a sense, fear is the enemy because it shatters awareness. But if we avoid fear, it chases us. You following this? This is important now. Fear is the enemy in that It destroys intelligence. The title of the book, Fearless Intelligence, suggests that fear makes you stupid, and it does. When the amygdala in the brain, the fight or flight center, prepares you for danger, there's a trade-out. You lose higher brain functioning. You don't think clearly. You see the world in black and white as everything or nothing, either or. Winners, losers, right or wrong. More importantly, are you with me or against me? Because if you ain't with me, you're probably against me. That's the way the brain thinks when it's stressed, when it's filled with fear. Dangerous or not, fear has little or nothing to do with danger. Fear is what you don't know, what you don't understand, the inevitable uncertainties of life, the lack of awareness, the ignorance. It's an insulting word. Doesn't mean you're not smart. Just means you're not awake. Stupid might be a better word, but again, oh my God, what an insulting word. No, nobody wants to think of themselves as being stupefied, like a deer in the headlights, but that's actually what that's about. None of us lacks the capacity. We're all brilliant. We're born geniuses before we go to school and get regimented and judged and categorized and pigeonholed and labeled, and attention is paid to wrong answers instead of right answers. We're really quite remarkable, each and every one of us. We just need to learn to use the instrument, and it begins with shedding fear, refusing to be frightened and to face the fear. So while fear is the enemy, if we avoid it, it will chase you, it will haunt you. I'm sure you've noticed. It will appear to hold on to you, although you're the one that's holding on to it, because of course a fear response is tension. Fear makes you hold on. What do you hold on to? The fear itself. Like a shadow. It's, Plato's allegory of the cave and all of that. It may be distorted and exaggerated, but it's just a shadow. And yet it has a gift for you in the shadow, in the depths of the fear. If you face the monster, the demon, the dragon, the wicked witch that represents the shadow and the fear, and move directly into it, then you will understand. If fear represents what you don't know, what you don't understand, and what you're not aware of, what's the antidote but to face it and step into it? This is the trick. But Michael, you said it's the enemy. Shouldn't I run away? That's what you've been doing all your life. How's that worked for you? Well, I'm more stressed than ever. I just don't call it fear. You keep calling it fear. I'm just a little anxious. All right. Let me address that. Clinical psychologists, other clinicians, social workers, psychotherapists often will make a distinction between fear and anxiety. I'm not buying it. To me, it's all the same. The distinction that's often made is that fear is a response to danger. Anxiety is a response to things unknown, uncertain, of which you're unaware. But in both cases, if you want to acknowledge this separation that's not really a separation, this distinction without merit, in both cases, as Emerson said, knowledge is the antidote. Ralph Waldo Emerson, knowledge is the antidote to fear. Well, it's also the antidote to anxiety. The more you understand the danger, the less frightening it is. The danger is constant. It's still just as dangerous. But the more you know about it, the less frightening it is, the less likely you are then to lose your mind. So we have fire drills, or today in Second Amendment America, shooter drills. Kids in Uvalde, it's okay, Dad, we've trained for this. Can you imagine? We've trained for the shooter drills. We know what to do. You might say, well, now you're bringing up stuff that makes me even more afraid. Well, again, remember, it's a reflection of the consciousness of people. If you're not going to have mental health facilities, if you're going to sell a gun to a shooter on the way to the mass shooting, the guy at the hospital the other day picked up his AR on the way to the hospital to shoot the doctors because things didn't go well in his back surgery. Bought the gun on the way to the hospital to shoot the doctors and the nurses and anybody else who got in the way. I bring it up not because it's a political thing for me. It's a manifestation of uncontrolled fear. People arm themselves because they're afraid, and they create more reasons to be afraid. Guns are an offensive. They are not a defensive weapon. They are not a shield. It's the stupidest thing in the world to think a gun will make you safer. Again, relevant to this class only because we're talking about fear. Fear is ignorance. Ignorance is fear. The emotional side of that is the fear, the anxiety, the stress, just a little bit of worry or concern, all the way out to panic. It's all the same. We know it's the same. It's what we don't understand, whatever label you hang on it, such that understanding what we're afraid of minimizes the fear, and now our awareness comes back. Now we get smarter, don't you see? And it's essential to being mindful, whether it's a mindfulness meditation or driving your car mindfully, or listening to your spouse when he or she is upset and doing that mindfully, and sitting with the discomfort that is coming up for you, listening to them mindfully. You'll never do that unless and until we learn to manage our fear and see it not as a response to anything dangerous, though it could be, but more essentially a response to what we don't understand. So knowledge and understanding is the antidote. You see this loop? Ignorance and fear is a vicious cycle. In the book, I have an actual graph of fear and ignorance feeding each other. It's a downward spiral. Remember, we talked about energy always moves in spirals. Spirit always moves in spirals. The wind always moves. Heat moves in spirals. Radio waves, electricity, current moving down a wire moves in spirals. The wind under the wings of a bird or an airplane is spinning, lifting. Everything is big weather patterns. The water going down the drain. That's how it works. So fear and ignorance is a spiral. See, and it pulls you down. It sucks you in. It holds you down there. And the more frightened you are, the more confused and ignorant you become, which is a pretty scary thing. So you become even more frightened. And again, that preparation for fight or flight shuts down the very brain functions that you need to understand. Think of times you've been terrified, really, really afraid. And I'm so confused. I can't think straight. I don't even know my own name. Yeah, you lost access to this higher brain function. You went down into this limbic animal brain, this brain we share with lizards and dinosaurs for, for helping us survive in the jungle when we were really in much greater danger than we are now. Now, the good news is there's an upward spiral that is similar, which is love and understanding. Don't you see the antithesis of ignorance is understanding? The antithesis of fear, then, must be love. And love and understanding flows. It's almost like one word. You can hyphenate it. Love and understanding. Because understanding is love. That's what love is. Wow, that's big. You always wondered what love is. It's understanding. It's awareness again. It's realization. There's a beautiful word. To make real. It's not real till you understand it. It's not real if you're not aware of it. Medieval mystic Johannes Toller said, "If I were a king and did not know it, I would not be a king." Sounds pretty simplistic and sort of stupid, but think about it. What exists that doesn't exist simply because you're unaware of it? Because you don't know about it. Because you've decided you're not a very good reader and it's hard to read because you don't have the attention span for it anymore, and so you just don't read. Something's got to stimulate this brain if you're gonna use it, if you're gonna stay bright. I can, at my advancing age, I can feel the tendency of the brain to want to lay down and go to sleep. It needs exercise, just like the physical body. It needs stimulation. There's plenty of research to show that dementia and Alzheimer's and other actual maladies of the aging of the brain can be forestalled by stimulation. This brain plasticity, you can grow your brain. It's never too late to literally grow gray matter and white matter, to build a bigger, stronger, heavier brain, literally a bigger brain. And one of the crazy things is while you're doing that, and the only thing that has ever been shown to do that is mindfulness meditation and a mindfulness lifestyle. As the brain grows bigger in terms of gray and white matter, the amygdala shrinks. That fight or flight center where fear comes from. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. Really? When you're afraid or nervous or worried or fearful or anxious, how often is danger a real element? It's just not knowing. It's scary. So knowing and understanding is obviously the antidote for that. Hence the importance of meditation. And again, mindfulness not only is a meditation practice, but is a lifestyle. So how do we go from this downward spiral of fear and ignorance, each promoting the other? The more frightened I am, the more confused I am. I'm only frightened because I'm confused and uncertain. But the more fearful I become, the more confused I get, which is scary. So now I'm even more frightened and more confused. You feel that vicious cycle. You feel how it pulls you down. And if the upward spiral is love and understanding, because in the same way, love promotes understanding. Peace of mind is what you do to understand something. You relax. Let's see. And you stop trying so hard. And suddenly, eureka, aha, intuition, that still small voice, can be heard in the gaps between the thoughts. And it whispers this profound insight that was there all along, just waiting for you to listen to it, if you could but if you would but quiet your mind. So that peace of mind, that love, promotes insight and understanding. And as you understand things, that helps you relax, right? It's like, oh, wow, phew. At least I understand it now. I know what to do. That problem solved. Check the box. we're done with that. I got it. So that's a big relief. So you relax even more in response to understanding, which becomes fertile ground for more understanding and more love and more. Okay, so we have the downward spiral of fear and ignorance, the upward spiral of love and understanding. How do we get from one to the other? I mean, I keep saying mindfulness, and we'll have to talk about what's meant by mindfulness too. Mindfulness is a meditation practice. Mindfulness is a way of living with your eyes open out in the world, slowing down, paying attention. There's a curious phrase. Pay attention. Who do you pay when you pay attention? And is there an intention behind the attention? These are not just word games. I'm not George Carlin playing with words here. Would that I could be that clever. It's a great documentary on about George Carlin, if you want to check that out. I've seen the first 2 hours. It's a 4-hour documentary on George Carlin. I think it's on HBO. I'm not sure. I think of railroad. This is just a memory peg for me because there's 2 R's in the word railroad and 2 tracks to get from the downward spiral of fear and ignorance to the uplifting spiral of love and understanding. And those 2 tracks both begin with the letter R. So that's why railroad's the mnemonic that I favor. And they are relaxation and responsibility. It's not the only way to say it. It's just a teaching aid or a model or a way for you to think about, how do I get out of this mess? This spinning vortex, this tornado, this toilet flush, going down, down, glug, glug of my confusing, frightening me and leading to more confusion and more fear. How do I get to that upward spiral of love and understanding? You relax and you take ownership. You accept responsibility and accountability. You see your life as essentially empty. Remember we talked about emptiness, non-attachment, personal responsibility. Emptiness is so easy to understand, but what it means is without your consciousness, there's nothing out there. It just means there is no solid objective reality. It's made by your perception of it. It exists out there. There's stuff out there. It can be weighed and measured, and light reflects off it that we can perceive, but that's the point. It's perceived with our eyes, and my eyes are not your eyes. We don't see the same thing. Wonder why we disagree so much. My ears are not your ears. We hear different things. Smell and taste and touch. My heart is not your heart. We care about different things. Hopefully there's a big overlap, right? There's a lot we have in common emotionally. But we have to recognize the nature of personal reality We're all watching different movies. It's like the big Cineplex with 14 movie theaters, right? And 14 of us go to the movies, and each one of us goes into a different movie theater, watches a different movie, come out and argue about it. Be sort of silly, wouldn't it? That's what we do. When we should be curious and say, really? Is that how you see it? Tell me more. Far out. Instead, we get all defensive and riled up. Again, we're coming out of this lizard brain because we're just so frightened and so stressed. We're overstimulated. We don't have a lot of control, and we don't know a lot. That's the reason for stress, anxiety, fear, everything from panic to mild apprehension and concern. Relaxation, responsibility. I can't tell you how many clients and students I've had, especially the private clients, who, when I say something like, make these feelings about yourself, they'll come in and spend a whole session. People who go to counselors and therapists, they really want Judge Judy. They really want adjudication. They want to be told that they're not crazy, they're right, and it's their spouse, their kids, their boss, the neighbor, Gladys Kravitz up the block, whoever, that are making their lives miserable. That's what they want, is Judge Judy to pound the gavel and say, you're right, you're good, they're bad. That'll be $250. That's not how it works. And so when I suggest to people, these are your feelings. Yes, external events, relationships, circumstances stimulated the feeling. That's a real part of it. But what you're feeling now, after the fact, is your response. It's personal. It's about you. Make it about you. And jaws drop. You can hear them hit the floor. And some people are insulted. You have to be careful how you say that. I said to one young man once, well, that's the story you tell yourself. He went off like the 4th of July. It's like I inadvertently ripped the mask off. What do you mean, the story I tell myself? I was so deeply into this story of being a helpless victim. I'm not making this up. Well, frankly, yeah, you are. Yeah. There's so many different ways you could perceive it, and so many different ways you can respond to it that, yeah, it's just a story you're telling yourself. You want to rewrite the story? Wouldn't you like to tell yourself a different story? So I want to go to questions in a couple of minutes here, 2 or 3 minutes, and I implore you to jot down in the chat box your thoughts before Melinda calls on you. It just helps to condense your question into a sentence or two. And let's have some conversation. Because again, I can hold forth. I can go. I can keep doing this. But the whole idea of the Zoom call is to have some interaction. So I would very much love any question or comment, like the old talk show days. Just jot it down in the chat box if you want. And Melinda will call on you in a few minutes. So this is pretty much as far as I want to go today with this idea, this most basic introduction to fear, the disabling effect it has on awareness, the mind-shattering, mind-numbing. Just take your IQ and imagine turning the crank down, Here you had a nice IQ of 110, 120, 130, and now the more anxious and nervous and the more helpless and victimized you feel. Just turn it down. Now you're down to 80. IQ is 70. You're barely above room temperature. You're a deer in the headlights. Got to relax. Wouldn't it be nice to see your anger coming a mile away? To see it on the horizon, and it's just this little guy out there, and you go, you say to yourself, I'm starting to really get pissed off about this. This is really starting to irritate me. I wonder why. Oh, yeah, it's because I feel frustrated. So maybe my anger is just frustration. Why am I frustrated? Oh, because this keeps happening and I'm afraid it'll continue to keep happening. Well, I don't know my power. I don't have any power. Wait a minute. Hold on. There's more in this anger than frustration. There's hurt. Wait a minute. There's some heartache in here. Oh my. There's sadness in here. My anger is frustration and it's hurt and it's got some sadness, like some resignation to it. Wow, what a complex emotion. I wonder why I never realized this before. Oh, wait, even deeper. Here's some fear it's going to keep happening. Well, you'll never, what are the chances you're ever going to be able to do that after you find yourself fully pissed, red in the face, yelling, panting, as if you're in some great danger, blood pressure going through the roof, pulse, respiration, all to deal with this danger. The only thing that's dangerous is our confusion and our ignorance. Take a breath, relax, cultivate through a mindfulness meditation practice a mindful approach to living, to notice what you notice, to be aware that you are aware is a path to being awareness itself. You have to notice what you notice, be aware that you are aware, to come to the understanding that you are awareness itself. And when everything else falls away, that's what you're left with. Consciousness, awareness, love, truth, wisdom, goodness, beauty, happiness, joy, compassion, empathy, humor. Did I say beauty? I think so. Aesthetics. That's what remains. It's always there. You don't have to attain it. You don't have to get there. Imagine not only do you already, I say this a lot, I think it bears repeating, not only do you have everything you're looking for, you are that which you are looking for. You not only have the love, the awareness, the consciousness, that's who you are. What you're looking for is who is looking. Everything that you're looking for is who is looking. And that's not this personal self with the name and the career and the status and the physical appearance of who you are. It's the awareness. It's not even your brain. It's the awareness. It's the one thing you cannot get behind in cause, effect, daisy chaining your way back. This effect has a cause. Well, that cause of this effect is an effect of some previous cause, which is an effect of a cause before that. And you daisy chain your way back to first cause. We talked about this in our very first class. First cause, the prime mover, the absolute, that which people personify as a man on a cloud and call God. First cause, the need of awareness, to know itself as awareness. Don't let this be a word game. Words is pretty much all we have. Trying to think if there's any other point I want to make or underscore. That feels like that's pretty much it. So it's about 4 or 5 after. Melinda, do we have some questions we can go to?
I have a question that I'm not sure how you want to handle it because of the recording. I had a question to put in the chat your platforms for contributing to the broadcasting, and I didn't know if you just wanted to get that later and post it in the chat later, or repeat it now, and I can chat it, or you want to wait on that. No, I'll get it for next time.
Yeah, again, I don't want to make a big deal out of this. I do want to emphasize that it's a free class and it'll always be a free class, but might as well answer that now. No reason it can't be on the recording.
And I'll write it down and put it in the chat.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So your Zelle.
Religion is so about money. It's real. This thing really makes me nervous, and yet people have offered. People have sent me money in the mail, and what am I going to do? Send it back? There are costs involved. I really appreciate it. So the best way I think to do that, rather than mail me checks, and I'm not a nonprofit, and it's not going to be tax deductible. It's just a gift to support this whole thing. The 3 best ways I can think to do that is PayPal, Venmo, and Zelle.
Ready.
So my PayPal site is a personal site. It's not .com. It's paypal.me/Michael Benner. And of course, no spaces. PayPal.me/Michael Benner.
I got that one.
The Venmo is at Michael-Benner-9.
See, I got that one.
There's 8 imposters that got there before me. And Zelle is MB, my email, my personal email, my initials at my name, mb@michaelbenner.com.
Okay, I'll handle that.
Yeah, thank you.
And then we'll go on to the .com, right? And then we'll go on to the first question. And this is a little bit of a lengthy one, and then I'll turn it over to Chris to actually, I think I missed a question. Let me go to Pamela first. Do you think being grounded at all times will help us face our fears in certain situations? That's a great question, Pamela.
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by being grounded. I know what I mean by that, but Pamela, can you unmute and tell me a little more about what it is you're meaning by that that word grounded?
Oh, okay, fine. I'm just wondering, like, I think you probably answer it by being mindful and paying attention. But just I'm just figuring out to face the fear of some situation you can and some you can't. But being grounded is just being like still and decrease the anxiety in your body, that if something comes up and then if you're afraid you probably can face it much better. I'm not sure if that's clear or not, but
Well, you're
mm,
talking about the effects of being grounded. Let me supply my understanding, and then you can tell me if it conforms to your understanding somewhat. Um, Ground is an interesting term. The ground of being is a phrase that's used in philosophy to refer to the absolute, the source, the prime mover, the first cause. We were just talking about God, the Godhead, the ground of being. All right. So the idea that we're grounded means that we share the common ground. We're all plugged in to the same earth, and we share that ground of being. That ground supports us, and through the food we eat and the water we drink and the air we breathe, that ground sustains us. So, ground of being has that reference. There's also the idea that we exist as each of us as individuals and collectively as well, exist like a battery or a motor or a light bulb for that matter with two wires, basically. You know, anything you plug into the wall, there's two wires. Uh, and one represents the sky and one represents the earth. These are the polarities. Think of the battery in your car. If you get jumper cables, one jumper cable won't do. You need two jumper cables. They represent the positive and negative poles of electromagnetism. Well, in esoteric philosophy, then, that is sky and earth. That's spirit and matter. Those are the two sides of Einstein's equation. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. But mass is nothing but energy. They're equivalent. And yet they are polarities. So a common meditation technique is to think of yourself as grounded into the earth, but open and receptive at the top of your head to the downward impress of spirit. And that it's the downward and outward flow of spirit into matter that creates an inward and upward growth. Now, isn't that nice? That merits some thought. It's like, how do you get the bucket out of the well? You could lift the bucket like this, or you could have a pulley. And if you pull down on the rope, you lift the bucket up. That's sort of like spiritual growth, is pulling down on the rope to raise yourself up. It is the downward and outward flow of spirit into matter that creates an inward and upward growth. So we stand open and receptive to that which we wish to become or to aspire to. So here's another way of looking at it. I'm an amateur radio operator, have been since I was a teenager, federally licensed. When I hook up a transmitter here to talk to people on shortwave around the world, there's two wires that come out of the back of the well, there's a power wire. That's got two sides also, but aside from the power wire, what comes out of the back of the transmitter are two wires. One goes to the sky, one goes to the earth. One goes to the antenna, the other goes to the ground. And so we're that element in the middle. And when we think of ourselves as being like a battery that is being charged from above, but has to be connected to the earth, that also is a way of talking about being grounded. To be physically grounded is to be aware of how it feels to actually walk upon the earth. Thich Nhat Hanh is especially known for his exercises of mindful walking, which is a very slow, deliberate, conscious stroll where you do nothing but walk. And you may look at the scenery around you, but you're not solving problems or dwelling on your heartache. You feel the heel of your foot touching the earth. You feel it rolling as momentum carries you forward onto the ball of your foot, and then beginning to push off with your toes as you're aware that your other leg is swinging past, stepping forward, touching the ground with the heel, and repeating that process, and being aware of the gentle swing of your arms to sort of counterbalance yourself as you walk. To feel yourself in the body, touching the earth, to be aware of the earth supporting you, is another way of thinking of yourself as being grounded. Make no mistake, the point of seeing ourselves as the middle element between spirit and matter. This is the Christ between the Father and the Mother. This is the Buddha nature between that about which cannot be said and the physical creation of that prime mover. The Buddha nature, the Christos, the Christ consciousness, this is the soul between God and man, between heaven and earth. That's who we are. And the point of me emphasizing this is that we are both spirit and matter. We are spiritual beings in animal bodies. And both things are true. And we need to be connected not only to the ground and be grounded, as important as that is, but open through relaxation and a gentle focus of the mind to the downward impress of this breath, this energy, this spirit that illumines, lights us up, and animates us. We are illumined and animated not so much by the food we eat, the water we drink, the air we breathe, though that is essential to living. We are illumined and animated by awareness, by spirit, by an energy that is everywhere equally present. But we have to be open and receptive. When we get afraid, we tighten, we close down, we become resistant. And again, we see this in evidence as the mind scattering. So it's a great question. It's a little complex, different. There are different meanings when we talk about being grounded, but all of them are rich areas to reflect upon and to contemplate. Does that help you, Pamela?
Yeah, that was good.
Good. Loving
Thank you,
that.
Michael.
Yeah.
Chris has the following question. I have deep concerns about the state of American colleges and universities. Aside from their often sometimes exorbitant costs, it seems to me like they sometimes have lost their focus. Often, as we know, they are focused on research over education. And they seem to be focusing more on preparing students for jobs, though I'm not sure they even do a good job with that, over helping students become better humans. As such, I'm even more concerned about what universities and colleges don't teach. Number one, mindfulness. Number two, critical thinking. Number three, the beauty of tolerance and diversity. What are your thoughts on our educational system? Asks Chris.
Again, a wonderful question. I, especially of late, have been thinking about the sad state of education. I share your concerns, Chris. Generally, I find my concern being focused not so much on college as grade school. middle school and high school. Education, particularly in the last 40 to 50 years, is being deliberately undermined. I'm not a conspiracy guy. I'm a journalist. Journalists don't rely on one source. We seek out diverse and antagonistic sources and compare and contrast and read between the lines and gather evidence and listen to other people. And would the consumers of news would also seek diverse and antagonistic sources. And my considered opinion is that this is deliberate. You don't really have to look very far to see the refusal to fund education. Now, if schools made bombs and warships and assault weapons, there'd be plenty of money for them. If they were owned by, well, I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to overstate my allegory here. I've made my point. Any nation that spends $800 billion a year on war is not going to be able to educate its students, nor house the homeless, or care for illness, mental illness, physical illness, or provide enough decent jobs. The idea of trying to live on $12 an hour. It's just, and politicians have done a great job of getting us to blame poor people. I've been waiting for Fox to figure out a way to blame immigrants for gas prices going up. They will do it if they can figure it out, because that's the standard MO. It just doesn't seem to occur to people that the problem is a top-heavy economy of billionaires sucking the money out of the economy. It says, you've played Monopoly, you know how the game ends. One person has all the money and all the houses and all the hotels, and the name of the game, damn it, is Monopoly. So for my entire lifetime, there have been the six sisters or the seven sisters that are the oil companies that are setting these prices. Oil is not more expensive at the wellhead than it was in the past. Price of oil per barrel is not high. Russia never gave us more than 4% of our oil, sold us rather. Less than 4% of our oil comes from Russia, so don't buy that, oh, it's the war thing. It's vacations, it's the market. The market is six guys, billionaires, who decide this week it's going to be $7 a gallon for gas. It's not Joe Biden setting the gas prices. They were low during the pandemic because nobody was going anyplace. It's a top-heavy economy and a desire to dismantle democracy, to keep people stupid, to make them stupid, that undermines education such that we have people that can't find Kansas on the map. A third of Americans think the sun revolves around the earth. 40% reject evolution, even though we see it in a new flu season. We've watched the COVID virus evolve. How can you say you don't believe in evolution? Oh, they call it a variant? Oh, I see. Call it a mutation. I don't care. It's evolution. The damn thing is learning and growing and evolving. Like everything in the world. I said that's the purpose of existence, is to evolve and to grow. And I've seen these Jimmy Kimmel man on the street things, and I remember Jay Leno's jaywalking. Or now I know they're edited. If somebody with half a brain comes along and it doesn't take the bait, they're not going to be included in the bit. I get that it's edited to feature only the dullest people, but Bill Maher showed a clip this past Friday of a video of a guy in the street, and he says to this woman, "What country is Venice, Italy in?" She didn't know what country Venice, Italy was in. It's like, who's buried in Grant's tomb, right? And she said, "Oh, I should know this. I'm going to be a teacher." No, I don't think so. What's missing there is awareness. It's not like he just said Venice is in Italy. What nation is Venice, Italy in? He just told you. You need to know that Italy is a nation, I guess. I'm sure she did. She just wasn't aware. That's the problem. Reading span. People don't read because they can't. Their mind is racing. It just doesn't stay focused for 10 or 15 minutes so you can read. Part of that's because we read so slowly. But we're not teaching kids to read. And they're not interested in reading. It's much more exciting to be on an iPad, which degrades your attention span, makes you less mindful and therefore less aware. What an irony that the cyber age has made us less aware, connected everyone to everyone, and yet we're more separated than ever. What irony. What an amazing contradiction. So, Chris, I completely share your concern about education in the grade schools, in the middle schools. Humanities and civics should be in the high school. If you get a liberal arts education in college, you do get exposure to the humanities, or you should anyway, to find literature. I had a basic liberal arts education in Michigan State, and the first 2 years as an undergraduate, we had to take 3-4 credit courses in language, American thought and language, literature, American literature, 12 credits on the humanities, and then 12 more credits on the social sciences, and then 12 more credits on the physical sciences. Basically, you didn't have much. There was maybe 3 credits left for electives. First 2 years, that's all you did. It wasn't until our junior year that we got into our upper college and began to study what we were going to major in, journalism, broadcasting, in my case. So I share those concerns as well about higher education, and it's way too expensive. Again, if we defended America instead of projecting military power overseas, with combat troops currently in 150 nations, there are less than 200 in the world. There is an American military base with armed soldiers ready to go in every nation in the world, essentially. That costs money. And the weaponry. We spend 3 times what China spends on war. We spend something like 6 times what Russia spends on war. And we're badass, but you can't prepare for war and expect never to fight war. That's draining the resources, and the billionaires are draining the resources. Education's being deliberately undermined. Democracy is being deliberately undermined. The fix for all of this is awareness. Of course, I'm going to beat my drum here. Consciousness. People do what they do because it reflects their consciousness, their awareness. It's not political. There are no political answers. It doesn't take everybody. It doesn't take the majority. It takes some small percentage. I love that Margaret Mead quote. Never doubt the ability of a small group of people to change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Small groups of dedicated, devoted people. There's a critical mass at, I don't know, 3%, 10%, probably less than 10% of women and men thinking in new ways. This is the hope for humanity. This is our only hope for humanity to turn this ship around and be about, well, what did I say at the top of the class? The three areas of the Eightfold Noble Path falling into the search for virtue, the pursuit of virtue, the study of the mind, and the pursuit of wisdom. I think those are 2,500 years old. I think that's pretty noble. That's why it's called the Eightfold Noble Path. Pursue virtue. We're a long way from that right now. It's just, and religion isn't helping. Organized religion. There's a lot of very virtuous people who walk the walk beyond simply talking the talk. They're good, righteous, holy people who do their best in all religions. But that's not who runs the religion. The religion is an institution. They tend to be corrupt. Just watch the appeals for money. Just when you click through the channels and you come on these proselytizers, how come it's always about money? Sending money. Money, 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 money. And then they live in mansions, $20 million mansions, and drive Ferraris, and nobody questions. They still just, Christ refused to even wear shoes. He wouldn't ride on a horse because of the appearance of what it meant to be wealthy enough to even own a horse. He walked barefoot mostly. Lived simply. Cautioned that rich people have no chance to get to heaven. Like a camel through the eye of a needle. Store your riches in heaven and not on earth. On and on and on. Give away everything. Follow me. Give it all away. Follow me. For I am the way. Well, the way is peace and love and understanding. And there's nothing wrong with being prosperous and having material things. But when is enough enough? That's all. Moderation, right? The middle way. Nothing wrong with wanting stuff, having a nice car. Nothing wrong with that. But you don't need 100 million. You don't need a billion. A few million would be nice, right? There's a certain Zen-like, I said this last week, a certain Zen-like peace that goes with having a little bit of money in the bank. Education was your question. I agree. Consciousness is the solution. It needs to be a demand for education, and we can educate ourselves and each other. But it's got to begin with being aware, learning to read, for God's sakes, and caring enough to want to know more and more and getting hooked on the adventure of always wanting to know more and understand more so that we might ask better questions and continue that ecstatic growth and reaching out for more. Got to be optimistic, though. We got to believe that some significant percentage of us can do the course corrections that are necessary. Okay, that's about it. Melinda, you got anything in parting for us?
I think that's it, Michael. I think sum up, practice that mindful meditation is the way to go. Thank you for all your help.
Yeah, and if the very word mindfulness is still a bit of a mystery for you, we will, I promise you, spend lots and lots of time on it. It basically means to live in the moment instead of the past and the future, just to be aware of what's happening right here, be here now. And to do that without judgment, to not judge things. And if you want to know quickly what that means, go to the beach, go to a park, go to a wilderness area, sit in nature, and look around. And pretty quickly, you will find that you're no longer judging. You're not saying that's a good tree, that's a bad tree, that cloud is better than this cloud. These bumblebees are inferior to those honeybees. It's absurd, right? And all your cares go away. So, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. We're here every Sunday. I'd like you to, at 11 o'clock California time, if you want to get on the newsletter, for some reason you're not, or you want to invite your friends, send them to michaelbenner.com. And there's a button there, free Zoom class, and just fill out the coupon to get on the email list at michaelbenner.com, or write me at awmysteryschool@gmail.com, awmysteryschool, the Ageless Wisdom Mystery School, just awmysteryschool@gmail.com. I'd like you
Michael,
to
one quick
unmute.
thing, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Just to reiterate that you post these on YouTube, there were a few questions clarifying that question. I think it's a great one to remember. These all get flipped onto YouTube.
Yes. Though, please come live when you can.
But that you send those links and they will find a way to access, maybe just repeat how to access that, because I think that's really a key thing.
Well, to access any of my stuff, just Google Ageless Wisdom Mystery School, or Michael Benner for that for that matter. You'll find everything. michaelbenner.com, it's all there. Google or go to YouTube and search Ageless Wisdom Mystery School, or whatever search engine you wish to use. We're all over the internet. You'll have no problem finding it. Okay, so please unmute and say goodbye, and hope to see you next week. Have a wonderful week, and namaste, aloha, salam.
Bye.
Bye.
Namaste.
Thank you, Michael.
See ya.
Thank you, Michael. Bye.
Linda, thank you.
Oh, thank you, of
Thanks, Mindy.
course.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Find the off button here. Shut this recording down. Here we go.